Hey guys, it's Maymay again, and this project is another stationery holder, card holder project. Now it's a little different, and I've had this one in my head for a little while, and I have not seen it. I'm sure someone's done this. I'm sure I'm not the originator, but I haven't watched someone do it, so this is going to be the way I do it. And you may have watched somebody do one and like have a shortcut or something, so let us know if you do. All your dimensions are going to depend on the size of this stationery holder you want to make. And by the time we get to the end of this, you'll understand what I mean by that. So I will put my dimensions onto my blog post, but unless you want to make exactly what I'm making, you'll change your dimensions and it'll be simple. You'll see how simple that is. But for my dimensions, this piece of paper is 8 by 5.5. So it's 8 inches this way, 5.5 this way. And it doesn't, this is a utilitarian piece of paper. It's going to do a job more than be pretty, but it is going to be in a spot where it's going to be seen. So you decide what kind of paper you want to use. I'm using white just for this project to show you how this works. You're also going to need, and I messed up, I got a little ahead of myself before I turned the video on, but if you can see this piece of, what's that called? You can see this piece of chipboard here. It's actually not chipboard. Look, it's actually an old El Paso dinner box. So, anytime you have those, you know, laying around, save them because they work out perfect for stuff like this. And then you're going to need paper to cover it with. This piece of chipboard on the inside is 7 wide by 6 tall. I wanted it a little taller than that piece I showed you just a minute ago. Okay, so then once you have your piece, you're going to need 2 of these, a front and a back, and then you want to cover it. And you just pick the paper you want. So I glued this down to this piece of paper already, and then I'm going to show you how I cover it. What I do is I go to the corners and I miter them first. And don't miter all the way to your corner, because if you do, let me bring that up a little bit. If you miter all the way to the corner, you're going to see that cardboard. So you just want to get really close. So set your scissors and then chop. Don't go at it and just cut. You want to set your scissors and then chop. That way you don't get a funky, messed up cut. Okay, now to me this is the key for covering chipboard. I take a scoreboard, this is not a scoreboard. I take a stylus or a bone folder or something like that, and I run it down the edge of that chipboard piece, right where the paper is. And I'm basically scoring my cover sheet. And the reason I do this is because I think this helps that paper to bend better, and you don't get the kind of wiggly edge. You get a good sharp edge. Now, here's what we're going to do. On this piece, I'm just going to use the ATG to hold it down because I'm going to be putting glue on top of it. If you're not going to be putting glue somewhere on this, I would definitely use a wet glue, not an ATG here. But I'll show you how we're going to be adding a wet glue. Okay guys, so I paused the camera because I had to go take care of dinner. And so now I'm back, and it's actually 2 days later. And I have to tell you this because you're going to see my nails are different, because I just thought, wow, I did my nails different, and now they're going to notice. But that's okay because life happened. So now we're back to where we are. Look, this is how I literally left it, just like this, to go finish dinner. And 2 days later, I'm back. I may be telling you too much. Anyway, so we used the ATG gun, which I was telling you you're going to hear a lot about because I adore this new gun. I'll tell you about it later. Let's pick back up where we were. So I have the adhesive down, and I put it on and off a little bit, and now I'm just going to rub this into place, just like so. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm using the ATG on this area because I'm going to use wet adhesive here. So now you have your backside covered. Let's do some wet adhesive. I am using Close to My Heart liquid glass, which you cannot see. Let me get it. There we go. Close to My Heart liquid glass. That's what I'm using here. You can use, you know, glossy accents. You may have a different favorite wet adhesive. I just think at this point, because this is going to get the wear and tear, it needs something stronger than just tape. And I like to put this on in a thin little strip, but over a lot of the paper. And then once I lay it down, I'll show you what else I like to do. Now, the cool thing about wet adhesive is you can kind of lay it down and kind of put this where you need it. Do that noise. And then I like to take my brayer on this wet adhesive and just really spread it around. feel like that does two things. You know how sometimes you can put wet adhesive on something and you have those little marks? I feel like if you do this pretty quick after you put it on, it kind of smears those marks out. So that is that. Now, you're going to make 2 of these. Now, then you're going to need to take your white paper that we talked about earlier. And this one is going to get scored. And for this project, I like to use my mini anyway for just about anything I can. So I'm bringing my mini scoreboard in, and I'm going to score it every 1/2 inch. So I'm going to start here, and you're just going to score it all the way down the page. So now I have the whole page scored. And I really like using this tool with that board. This little ball fits in there really good, so I really like this. All right, so now what you want to do is accordion this paper on your score lines. Real simple. And you're going to do that twice, and I've done it with 2 pieces of paper. And because of your dimensions and the way you're going to score it, you're going to end up on the ends with a piece that's flat on either end, facing in the same direction. So because you have the 2 pieces and the way you accordion them, you want to make sure that the 2 edges are facing in the same direction and they're flat. In other words, you don't want to end up with one piece curled down and one piece facing up. You want to make sure both of your pieces on the end are facing in the same direction. Keep that in mind when you change the dimensions of this, should you decide to do that. What you want to do next is you're going to have a piece for the bottom of this, and this piece, I've forgotten the dimensions. Okay, for my page, this is 4 inches, okay? And I've already adhered it down on this edge, and I want to show you something I did that I think you might find as an interesting fix. I actually scored this too deep. I don't know if you can see because it's all the same color, but there's like a patch right there. You're not going to see this, but I scored it so deep that it almost ripped through on the other side. So I patched it with a scrap so I wouldn't have to waste another sheet of paper. Again, you're never going to see this, but it's scored, okay? So then I scored it at 1/2 inch, and I've also already scored this end at 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is just fold that up. And I did not score through it as firmly as I did before, and then you just want to mash this guy down nice and tight, okay? And then before we put the pages together, we want to use our accordions. Now, you may be understanding or you may not be at this point, but our 2 pieces are going to become the front and back of this little section, of this little dude that we're making, okay? So we'll actually adhere these together. But I want to start with this piece first, and I want to go ahead and put my accordion pieces down onto this portion of the project. Now this is where this gets important. Make sure when you adhere this piece down that you inset it slightly of this blue paper, because this paper is going to be your base. So you don't want it overhanging because things could fall out. That'll make sense later, okay? So you want to adhere this down. And I think I'm just going to use some not sticky strip. I'm going to use some score tape because it can go quicker and it can be nice and firm. So I'm going to lay that where you guys can see what I'm doing. It'll come off pretty easy when you tweeze it. I'm going to turn that to the side so you can see it. Tweeze it and pull. It comes off real easy. All right. Now then, I'm going to go ahead and fold this down. Like I told you, I want to be really sure I inset this a slight little bit. And if I do it this way, I can see that. There is side 1. And now I'm going to do the same over here. Okay, so now you can see you have these 2 accordion sides. All right. What we want to do is go ahead and attach our other base to this portion. Now on my other card, on my other side, because this is where the weight is going to be, I'm going to put a strip of liquid adhesive and dry. So I'm going to put the liquid here and the dry here, and I'll show you about that. Now I'm going to take the ATG, run it down at the bottom, like so. And then I'm going to take my liquid glass and run it at the top on this sheet. I don't know how much more sturdy this makes things, but in my mind it makes it sturdier, so that's why I do it. Sometimes we just have little tricks that are our very own. Now what we're going to do is we're going to line up that paper with the other paper, just right edge to edge. Doing it this way makes it pretty easy because you're just going to lay this down. Now one of the reasons that I like to use that wet adhesive and the dry is because that dry adhesive will hold this down while my wet is drying. And I really like that because I think, you know, like I said, it could be in my mind, but to me, it helps me out. I know it helps me go quicker. All right, so now we have this shape. Okay, on this side, I'm going to adhere this piece down using that same score tape. Now, I think it will be easier at this point to concentrate on one side only. Okay, don't worry about that other side just yet. Keep your hand in there to keep it from adhering on you. But you want this to go all the way to the bottom. Can you see what I'm doing? All the way to the bottom. And then bring it up just inside of the blue. Now, you want to go ahead and stick your hand in there and adhere that down. I'm going to show you what we're working with in just a second so you'll see. So you see, basically we've just adhered our accordion that way. Okay? I know it looks a little wobbly, but don't worry, it'll be fine in just a few minutes. Okay. Before we adhere this side down, we're going to do some interior work, and I want to show you what I've made for that. Okay, I have taken paper, coordinating paper, and based on my dimensions, this is cut to be the width of my container that I've made, and then it is cut to be just below the height here. And you'll notice that I've cut out kind of a little file tab cutout. That's exactly what you want to do. And we're going to put this paper in alternating. But I want to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put one in that way, then one in that way, one in that way, one in that way. I'm just going to keep alternating so that the tabs are on opposite sides. Okay, so I'll have blue tabs on this side, whoops, and I'll have green tabs on this side, and all that'll make sense in a second. But let's go ahead and put this paper in now. And I'm actually going to use the ATG for this for multiple reasons. One, for the speed, but also because it'll be easier to place ATG inside this than it will liquid at this point, because you're probably going to have to hold it a little bit awkward at first. So we'll put a piece on this end, and go ahead and put a piece on this end. Okay. Now bringing this is actually an accordion file folder that we're making. So bringing this back over, I want you to pay attention to this portion right here, okay? I'm not going to adhere it to the first strip, but I'm going to adhere it inside the second fold. So I'm going to place this piece of paper in that little fold and make sure I'm at the bottom, because remember, I cut it short, okay? I'm going to have to turn it where I can see what I'm doing. So I cut it short, so I want to stick it to the bottom, like so. And then I'll close that up on it to adhere it in. Then I'm going to come over to the other side and pull it straight across. And there you go. So my first one is in. So now see, I've made a little slide pocket. All right. You're going to continue to do it. Let's do another one together. Let's do a blue one. Again, adhesive. And now remember, this first tab is this way. So I want my second tab to go the opposite. I'm going to skip the long one and go to the next one. Lining that up. Closing it down. Let's do the same thing on this side. Is that starting to make sense? So you can see what we've got here. We've got little file holder tabs basically. Okay, and as we do the rest of them, it'll make even more sense. So I'm going to keep going all the way down, okay? Okay, so now you can see we have a little file box going. And if you do it this way, you can kind of stretch and close, stretch and close. See how that works? And you have these little pockets to put things in. Now, here's the idea, okay? You can use this as a stationery holder, and what you can do, of course we're not through decorating, we're still going to put a lid on it too, but you can go up here to your little tabs. Let me turn it like this. On your tabs you can take a label maker or just make yourself some little labels and put birthday, anniversary, thank you, sympathy, congratulations, Christmas, whatever you want to put on there. And then the cards you make for folks, stick them inside those slots and then give this as a gift. Isn't that cute? I think it's really cute. I want to show you one other thing for the front that we can do to add another little bit of pizzazz, and we'll put the top on. Okay, for this portion of the card stationery box we're making, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper in some coordinating color. This is actually the color I used on the inside. You need it to be 2.5 inches wide by 4 inches tall for my dimensions. You can change it for whatever you want it to be. Now the other trick is we're gonna score this every 1/4 of an inch. Now for this one, we're gonna score it every 1/4 of an inch. Now, here's how I do this. I hold this in place, and as you know, 1/4 of an inch is kind of hard to hold your fingers here. So I just put my fingers at like 1/2 inch, and I just start at the first 1/4, then I go to the second 1/4, and I just go down as far as I can go while leaving my fingers there. Then you can go on to the next ones fairly easily. And once I've finished that, I just come back, keeping my finger at the top, and I've already made myself a indentation of where I should put my tool. So I just finish those off that way. You can flip it, that's not a problem. That's just the way I do it to make it less movement. The lazy way. Okay, and while we're speaking, I have my hot glue gun right here to the side heating up. So I want you to know you'll need your hot glue gun for this technique I'm gonna show you, but I'm gonna show you another alternative too. Now on this, we're gonna accordion just like we did the big pocket. I did this on a mini album. I'll show you too. I did a mini album for the design team I'm on. That is designerscrapbooking.com.au, and they're based out of Australia, and they chose me to be on their design team. And I'll show you after we do this how this turned out. So that's kind of where this, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So that's where this came from. All right, now see how I'm really creasing this little accordion? And it's going to end up looking something like that, okay? Now then, just like we made the sides of our book, you want your accordion and your front piece, we're making a pocket, you want this to be the same length, okay? So I haven't covered this yet. I'm going to cover this piece, and then I'm going to adhere these to the side. So let me cover it. Okay, so I've covered this piece, and this is going to be the front pockets. I've covered it both ways. This is the front, this is the inside. And now for my tip. Okay. This is one of those dollar acrylic blocks from like Michael's or whatever that come in the little bins at the front. And I would not suggest doing this with your good acrylic blocks. It may not hurt them, but I would never try that. So I don't know if it will or not. Now, this is what I do. Okay, so you have your accordion piece. Your old, or not your old, but your really inexpensive little acrylic block from Michael's, wherever you get them from. Then a scrap of paper from whatever you were doing. Take a little temporary adhesive. It doesn't have to be temporary. It can be permanent. It doesn't really matter because this is coming off. It's just there for a moment. Okay. You're going to, on one end, close it up. Okay, just like this. Close it up. Then you want to wrap that piece of scrap paper around it, holding it snug, and you're just making a belt out of that little piece of scrap paper. Okay? And any that doesn't get attached just becomes the handle. But all that's going to do is keep it closed. My light is too bright, just a moment. All that's going to do is keep it closed while you glue it. Okay? So the next thing you want to do is you want to put a dot of glue onto your acrylic block. Just a fairly good size. Anything that's extra we can cut away. And then you want to take this little guy with the end and stand it up into that glue. Now I'm a shaker, so I shake when I put stuff into things, but now that's standing there. See if I can show you without knocking it over. It's standing on your block, and you just want to let that stand and dry. You're just going to take another little strip of scrap paper, close it down, wrap the belt around it, like so. See how good that does? And it just holds it tight. Put a dollop of glue. I say a dollop, a dot. I don't like stringer, so I spin it and then set this in it. Now one thing I like to do, and I don't know if you have to do this, but in my head this is what I like to do. After it's been there for a second, I like to lift it up, smash it back around, and put it down one more time. And the reason is I kind of make up 2 layers of that hot glue on the bottom so that they'll stand really good. Now once these are cooled, they're ready to go. So this one feels like it might be ready. I want to show you what was left. See how this left on my little block. This will peel off because it's acrylic, but this, like I said, is just a little junky piece, so I'm not worried about that. But if you have one of those, I should say silicone mats that they make for doing this, I would use that, but this is what I had, so use what I had. Because all I really need is for it to seal the bottom, and that's what it does. Isn't that cool? I'm going to show you where I used it on that other project really quick. So my design team project was this little purse, and I don't have any more of the project to make another one, so this is what it is. I can do like a little take you through it kind of thing. But if you notice right here, I have these little pockets, and that's how I did that. So that's what we're making, okay? All right, so now let's get our piece back out. And we are going to adhere this to the edge. And again, I set it in just a little bit so you'll have kind of a finished edge. So it's just sitting inside just a tiny bit. Now, you may want to do this with sticky strip or something firmer. I completely understand doing that, but I'm just doing this, you know, for video to kind of make this go a little quicker. Even a wet glue, something like that would probably be the best idea. Especially for this, because this is going to take the most of the wear and tear for the front pocket. Okay? Alright, so now let's bring our little accordion file back in place. Alright, so you can see we've got our file going. And now I'm going to glue this to the front. But what's really important about this is when you glue this down, you have this little gap created at the bottom. You want to run 2 thicknesses of foam tape there. And you may not think you need 2 thicknesses, but when I did the first one, I only put 1 thickness, and I found out pretty quick I definitely needed 2. And you can do this with just foam squares all the way down, but you want to make sure they touch all the way down so you don't have a hole in your pocket. Okay, you're just going to decide where you want it. Make sure using your grid mat that you've got your little piece square. Decide where you would like it on your container. Thinking in this area roughly. Then smash it down. Remember, you got your accordion in there, so it will smash, so you can do that. And now when you pick it up, look at this cool little pocket you've made. Okay, so now you have your little box put together and everything is ready to go. What we're going to do is use this little strip that we made, and we don't want it to be a square, we want it to curve like this. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to make it curve. I'm going to lay this on my work surface, and using my brayer, I'm just going to press my brayer to one side, and while I pull back, I'm going to lift up. And you see how that starts to create the curve? I'm going to do it again. And I'm just going to do that over and over until I get a really good curve. And then I'm going to flip it around, do the other side. And if you just keep doing this, look at this nice and neat curve. So we'll get a nice closure instead of a weird shaped square thing. So this is going to be our closure. And now you can roll it a little bit like this to really loosen it up. Look at that nice shape. Okay. So now what we're going to do is attach this to the back of our box. We're just going to attach it in this area. And you can use whatever you like to attach it. If you want to use brads, that would be cute. If you want to use adhesive, whatever you want to use. I'm just going to use an adhesive tonight. So for my adhesive, I'm going to use hot glue. And I'm just going to run some at the base. Now you might not think about hot glue with your paper crafting, but sometimes when you have something like this that you need to dry in a hurry and you need it to be, you know, really permanent, this is a good way to go. Alright, so you just want to center it. You should be able to do it really well by eye. Now, another thing to remember about hot glue and paper crafting, it's hot glue, so it gets hot and it comes through that paper, you can feel it. So you want to be really careful. And that'll dry fairly quickly. And then you'll have this little piece to wrap across the top. And remember, it's not decorated yet, so we're going to do a couple of things that'll be kind of like decorating now. We're going to create our closure, and our closure is going to go right here in this area. And what we're going to do, I thought this would be kind of different. We're gonna take a piece of brown polka dot ribbon to kind of match the look we're going for. I'm gonna make a loop out of it. Something about like that. And then I'm gonna tie a little knot. And I don't want this knot to be very meaty. I just want it to be a small little knot, kind of flat as you can make it. And I'll show you why. There we go. That's a pretty little knot. And then we're gonna trim it off. And you don't have to see this part. So, I mean, we're not gonna see that part. Ooh, my scissors are dull. So really it doesn't matter where you trim that knot off, because what we're gonna do is we're going to glue it right about there, leaving us that little loop. See that? Again with my hot glue, put a little dollop down. And then put that little knot in there. And so as not to have to touch it, just take your tweezers and press them in. Press the knot in. Now, to cover that, I'm going to use this little piece of paper. I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glass on it. And then this piece is just going to go on top. And I'm not trying to match it up exactly, but it's just enough to cover that. It doesn't have to be perfect like wallpaper or anything. So that'll just kind of make it disappear. And we'll just have our little loop sticking out. Okay? So we'll let that dry. And now, we want this loop to come around, and it's going to have to hook onto something in this area. So what we're going to do is I have this button from just my stash. I'm going to set this over here out of the way for a second. So I just have this button from my stash, and here's what we're going to do. I have these dimensionals that are black. I'm going to put 2 heights of this on the back. You just want to make sure that it doesn't show through the other side. So there's one. I should say 2 thicknesses of this. Here's the other. I better pick this up where I can see what I'm doing. So that this will stick off from the project, you know, that far. It's pretty far, but that'll be good. Okay, and then we're going to bring this over, decide where we want it. That's a good spot for the button, I do believe. And then, just going to center our button. It's not quite centered. I'm going to come over a little bit. And then push. Now then, when you close it, you'll just drop that around and you'll have this little closure, and it does like that. Isn't that cute? And now you just want to decorate this. I'm going to show you what I want to do just for now. It's not, you know, you can do so much more to this. You can do any kind of decorating you want to this little guy. So I have this piece of brown and polka dot ribbon, and I'm going to make a little bow. And I call this the bunny ear bow because I'm just going to like wrap the ears around each other. Like so. Have those ears come out the back. Bring this around. And put my finger into this one and then pull. Once you get everything going in the right direction, then you tighten it. Okay? And I'm going to pull this one down a little bit shorter because I don't want quite such a big bow there. And then see how it measures with the other side. I think that needs a little bit shorter. Pull it down a bit. And there we go. Now I'm just going to glue it down with my hot glue again. And I'm going to put it kind of in this area so it kind of looks like it's tying it together. Just for pretty. It really won't function as anything except pretty. And then we're going to trim this off to make it more reasonable with those loops. And there we have the basic box. It's kind of cute, isn't it? But you'll want to do a lot more embellishment. You'll want to put, oh, I want to do one thing for you and show you this. I think this is cute. See these little sparklies? These I buy at Michael's or wherever they have them for like $1. I was going to use my tweezers, but I'm afraid I'm going to fly it across the room. Just take it off like that. And now I'll tweeze it. Just like this. And I'm going to drop it right in the center of this button. Just like that. and then press it in. Now you could have, you know, tied ribbon in there or anything before we did this. You could have tied a little piece of baker's twine in there or anything you wanted to, you know, to make a little something. But isn't that kind of cute, the way that just blings it up? I think it's cute, and I would decorate everything in here. And then when you get ready to use it, it's just a matter of opening it with the loop, and then there you go. Look how big it is too. And if you wanted to make this tighter, if you wanted to pull this down even lower, which is cute too, to have it way down there, isn't that cute? And look how closed it gets. I love this little design. Let me know what you guys think. And this, you know, if you put it up high like this, it gives the person the opportunity to really load this guy up, you know. So you want to think about that too. But there you go. That's that project. This can be a stationery holder, like I said. I'm calling it a stationery holder. But it could also be, for me, I'm going to use it for projects. Different ideas I have that I want to do. Like if I want to do January, February, March, April, whatever I want to do in there. So I'm going to use it for project stuff, pictures, things to remind me of things I want to do. And I thought you could use this for, like, if you were giving it as a gift for stamps or anything. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. And there's more to come. If you guys want them, let me know. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.